Look there on the Juju's with Thresh. Cannot defend her. I cannot believe.
It's gotta be the game.
I can let the final.
Mickey Well gets in behind him, trying to turn it his radius. Starwave onto everyone. Triple kill for Radier and Mickey Well, last man standing. It's a slugfest. Double kill, triple kill, double kill, quadra kill, double kill, triple kill. My God, that was amazing.
Hooks on, Big Swift has gone mega, but they killed us support. Can't connect the chain, and Destiny, Hook is on. Swiffer is dead, Ray locks down Raze. Trippies gets that kill, and Spurs is stuck between the entire Wolfpack. Double kill for Fantix, they're running towards the Nexus.
Hello and welcome to Week 9, Day 2 of the OPL. It is the final day of the regular season, baby, and it's going to kick off with the Chiefs Esports Club going up against Order Melbourne. Hello, everyone. I'm Jake Spawn Tiberian. Joining me on the caster desk is Bryce Ejim Paul. Last day of the regular split. It has all come down to this.
Yeah.
Slot's still up for grabs.
That's the thing. There's actually so many slots still up for grabs. You think at the start of the season, maybe there's some top dogs, some bottom dogs, things like that. But everything is still up in the air.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. Some action-packed games yesterday. Avant Gaming taking the Direwolves to 58 minutes, but it was Legacy taking the 2-0 over Bombers, securing their 4th place seed and side selections in X Friday's best of 5 versus Avant Gaming. Of course, Direwolves came in, they took care of business. Game 1 was hard fought, but today, the Chiefs Esports Club get a chance to take back their top seed. A 2-0 victory over Order would do that before Tectonic take on Sin Gaming. Talk to me about the playoff maths. You've been sitting there with your pen and paper. By the way, Ejim is absolutely pathetic. Yeah, 100%. So he has got it written down.
Yeah.
So without further ado, who needs to do what?
Well, Direwolves did everything they could. So as soon as Order pick up a game, if you're a Direwolf fan, then you're an Order fan today. You need them to pick up one victory.
Welcome, Direwolves founding members. Shout out.
Welcome to the boys from Melbourne. But no, Chiefs need to secure themselves to 2-0 to get to the top of the ladder. Order can't get to first place. They can get themselves into second with a victory over Chiefs here if they get the 2-0. But a 2-1 won't do the same for them there. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so every slot still up for grabs in that top 3. And it is so massive because in the OPL, you finish first, you go straight to the grand final. You get the bye week, and for every spot you finish lower, so if Order finished 3rd, they need to go through that additional best of 5, which no team wants to do. You had to do it last year.
It's hard. It's hard. They're back-to-back. It's not like the traditional OPL. You get a week of preparation for each team. You have to play like the 4th seed, then the 3rd seed all the way up there, so it makes things incredibly difficult. And then if you're sitting in the top seed, you just get to watch everyone battle it out. And if the games are hard fought, which honestly, looking at the gauntlet this year, you expect them to be.
Definitely.
If you're at the top, you have such an advantage because teams are going to have to pull out all the stops to even get those smaller victories before the grand final.
All right, well, we're not there yet. We still have one day of OPL action coming your way. And to break it down a little bit further, let's throw it over to Laura and Tegan.
Thank you very much, guys. Today I am joined by friend of the OPL, Tegan. Welcome back. It's great to have you on the show once again.
Thanks for having me back.
You've been around the block for a long time now. Yesterday on the cast, Jake made a throw back to 2014 ACL with you as Blitzcrank, running down mid, hooking everyone and then recalling. Do you remember the good old days?
Yeah, I remember yelling it out. I'm not surprised he remembers it because that was back in the day where we played in the same room that they were casting and I was quite loud and I'm pretty sure the audience would have heard me over him commentating. Not apologetic about it. He had to deal with it. Tough life, but absolutely remember it.
It is a bit sad that we don't see you playing anymore, but it's great to have you here today for taking a look at our first game of the day. It will be between the Chiefs and Order, and what a series to kick off today. This series will determine the top 3 slots for the gauntlet, so there is a lot on the line for both of these teams. But Tegan, with so many teams focusing on getting Swiper behind as one of their win conditions, do you think we'll see Order try to take a different tactic to take the Chiefs down? Do you think they should be trying to focus a different area of the map?
So I think while Swiper does absorb pressure, he does also show a bit of cracks in his play. It seems like even though teams do get advantages by punishing him up top, their time might be better spent somewhere else. And if I'm Order, I might just leave top as an island. Tally's quite formidable on his own. He doesn't normally get the best of Swiper, but he does well. I might look to play small priority bot lane. You have 2 bot lanes who have both admittedly very aggressive players. So putting your jungle down there, maybe picking a roaming mid, might be a strategy they go towards.
Speaking of Order, in their past few matches against the Direwolves and Legacy, they have looked a bit up and down. So what do you think the Chiefs are going to try to exploit on the side of Order today?
If I'm them, and this is just a historic thing, it's not something that's happened recently, I might look to punish Swiffer and to throw him off his game. It might not seem like it, but he's a bit of a tempo play. He does have a bit of emotion behind him, behind that very stoic demeanor. And if you can just throw him off his game, they might be able to snowball through Ryoma, who has shown himself to be a very, very strong laner himself.
He is definitely a strong laner. So Tegon, it is that time of the day. What is your prediction going to be for this series? Who's going to take it out?
I'm going to go Chiefs 2-0.
Ooh!
I think either way it's going to be 2-0, but I got to give it to them right now.
I'm going to give it 2-1 to the Chiefs. I do think Order have what it takes to take a game away from this series. But if you would like to make your own predictions at home, don't forget you can head over to opltips.com.au where we have those $25, $50 and $100 Hungry Jacks vouchers available, as well as XP boosts and RP prizes. More information on the competition and those prizes can be found over at opltips.com.au. And if you have any questions on how to become an esports professional, or maybe you want some tips on Blitzcrank, send them over to us on Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag like no other, and Tegan will be answering your questions throughout the day. And if your question is answered, you will win yourself a mystery skin. Tegan, thank you so much for your thoughts on this series. But to get it started, let's hand it back over to Jake and Bryce.
Thank you so much. So double Chiefs fan vote there. I mean, given recent success, that is what you have to go to. Recency bias in power ranking is so important. In the last 6 weeks, the Chiefs have been on a tear.
100%. Order, when they were losing to Legacy, like coming into that game, you expect Order to be able to take it. And that was like the big swing point. Because you're like, Order, they lost to Direwolves, but Direwolves looked incredibly strong, now undefeated. Makes a lot of sense. But to lose to Legacy is where they kind of look like they faltered a bit and gives Chiefs the edge.
Absolutely. However, this game means so much to both teams. The Chiefs taking on Order. And we have 3 members of the founding Chiefs roster in this game. We actually have the person that the Chiefs was named after playing on Order as their captain now in Chief Swiffer. Because that was where it came from. It was just his name and client. Everyone got on board back in 2013 and the Chiefs were born. You weren't a founding member of the Chiefs, but obviously you played on the organization for 2.5, 3 years. Quinny K and DOS, Swiper and Rays versus Spooks and Swiffer. You're now the impartial analyst slash shoutcaster. This game must mean a lot for all 4 players.
It does. We got all 5 members of the 2017 Chiefs roster in this game. I'll just be sitting behind the scenes, like not actually playing. But yeah, super interesting. Sammy right now, Spooks looking pretty worried, pretty tentative, but this is a big game, especially it's the first time these 2 teams have played off against each other. In Order, they've had a pretty rough run going into the end of the split. We were saying earlier they had an easy run up, and they actually haven't beaten a top 4 team. They lost to Legacy, who have now locked themselves in 4th place. So they lost to Direwolves as well. Chiefs, can they do it here?
Absolutely. This is the last test, because if they do not, you can make an argument that Order should be the 4th place seed, obviously placing in the Direwolves groups. They got a couple of crack at teams like Sin, as well as Tectonic, so, easier run through that example. However, I do want to talk a little bit about what it means for other members on the Rift. FBI Rogue going up against old member Ryoma. People don't know this, or maybe they do, but Rogue, FBI and Ryoma were actually best friends. Like, they came into Pro League of Legends together. They spent a lot of time on Sin Gaming. They're both very fiery personalities. These are teams that will most likely want to kill each other.
100%. There's just so many of these sort of matchups across the Rift there. We took a look. Taking a look at FBI now. He's been on fire, but so has Ryoma, honestly. Looking pretty good. And the couch kind of touched on Swiper in the top lane. I think that's where I kind of want to start with this matchup. It's pretty interesting with him. He's been in a little bit of a slump, but traditionally in the matchup versus Tally, because these are the 2 kind of big dogs of the Oceanic top lane from years back. Maybe not at the top now with the likes of Chippies, Mimic, things like that. But Tally has sort of been the underdog in this matchup for the most part, but I feel like Tally on Order this split, as opposed to Tally on Legacy last split, looks much better.
Yeah, completely different beast. I agree. However, the players are ready. Let's go through the lineups. On the blue side, it is going to be the Chiefs Esports Club. Swiper is their captain and their rock in the top. Babib is their rookie jungler. Ryoma in the mid lane. Raze and Destiny are the 2 halves of one of the most formidable bottom lanes in the OPL. And Fantix is their perfect coach. Of course, they're going up against the boys of Order Melbourne. Tally in the top lane. Spooks and Swift are the dynamic duo. FBI and Rogue also in the bottom lane. And Choo Choo's Mr. Blam Blam Z is their coach, obviously on the couch yesterday.
You can't say Choo Choo's and then Bland Z. You got to say
Blam
Choo Choo
Z
Z
sounds way
and then
better.
Bland Z.
All right, cool. But what I want to ask you is, how is this draft going to shake up? Because we've seen the attack swiper strategy. We've seen the get rid of the Zaya Rakan strategy. Against Order, we've seen the, get rid of all the Spooks champion pools, put him on Jax, get rid of all Swiffer's champion pool. If you are these coaches, who are you looking at taking down?
We've seen lots of things, and I think T-Gun kind of alluded to it, and I think attacking Swiper is actually a good play. But Order do have the bot side of the map, can kind of hold up the other side. Because when Swiper falls behind, Chiefs, they still get advantages through Raze, through Destiny in the bottom lane. So attacking Swiper for Order makes a lot of sense. And I feel like we'll probably be seeing a Zaya ban somewhere along the lines. Destiny has shown that he's happy to pick up the Rakan. But in the isolated, with those 2v2, the Lovers duo, like just taking away Zaya, I feel like even though they do play it with Kalista, Kalista's not very good. So expect to see that one taken away as well.
This is spicy.
Yeah.
They're just getting rid of the Wombo combo. We've already talked about Order's ability to play non-finesse comps, and by that I just mean the get 5 members on the comp and try and kill people. So already Galio, Nah, as well as Varus taken away.
We have to note Swiper's hair right now. This is the first time we've seen it. He's gone for a bit of the mohawk. He's trying to be the Armor Titan, I think.
He's a little bit of a rhinoceros. Here's what he looks like. Jake also, Rogue also not too far away with that current hairstyle, although I think one is deliberate and one is I just got out of bed.
Yeah, maybe.
Kha'Zix hits the bench.
Last
I, for one,
Azir.
am very happy to see no Kha'Zix in this game after what Sybil was able to do to the Order lineup last week. Azir will be picked up and immediately they go towards Zaya.
Here we go. The Zaya Rakan. I don't think Rogue's going to pick it up. So Chiefs 100% have got that one, I think, locked in the bag already. There's potential, but I just don't see Order taking that one away. So this is a bit of a gauntlet thrown for a game one. If Order can successfully shut down the Zaya Rakan, I feel like that's huge for the rest of the series, especially because Order are a team, they've just pub stomped the league. They've just 2-0'd everyone, and in any set where they lose a single game, they lose the series. As soon as they lose one, they're just out. That's what the stats say, so we'll see if it comes through again.
So Order in response get Ryze, Skarner. I would say unarguably the two S-tier picks in their role right now. Olaf joins Skarner, but no one really goes with Ryze. But it will be a Syndra. So Zaya, Rakan, Syndra, the first 3 picks for the Chiefs.
Jungle's going to fall through. The Kha'Zix has already been banned, so you expect Order, after the next pick up here, to be banning that one. Pinching Babip in the jungle pool. But this is interesting, I think. Certainly, just giving Chiefs one of their best duos in the bottom lane. Got to be pretty spicy. The bottom lane is something we haven't really touched on for the most part. Destiny sat on the couch next to Laura and proclaimed that he was part of the most aggressive bottom lane in the league. And I feel like we saw Cupcake and King struggle a little bit versus Avant yesterday, so kind of taking them out of the equation. I feel like FBI and Rogue are the two that they need to be able to face up against. So being set up in this matchup with potentially just their best champions, looking good for the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the Camille banned away. Gangplank will follow, something that Swiper has not yet shown and something that Tally has a 100% win rate on thus far in the OPL. Has fallen out of favor a little bit, but I think certainly still worthy of a second round ban.
Yep. We saw Chippy's, like, he's the reason why. Like, we saw what it can do yesterday. It does kind of come online a little bit later than patches past, but still a very potent pick, and because of Tally's success, they get rid of that one.
Thresh will also join the bench right now. See whether with Camille as well as Nah taken away, or to play something like the Scion, which is kind of Swiper's third trick, or whether they give it away and try and counterpick. Braum currently is being the hover.
Yeah, Braum Ezreal, very potent lane into the Zaya Rakan. Braum is known as the support matchup that deals the best with Zaya, so despite those two champions seeming defensively on their own, it is actually a very aggressive bottom lane.
Oh, and they swap it at the last moment. They go with Ornn.
Okay.
A champion that we've seen definitely more popular in the top lane. He kind of goes through his own peaks and troughs, regardless of buffs or nerfs, is what I've kind of figured out from Ornn. But he has the longest range engage of top laners that is instant. Sion's matches, but he has to run there.
He's got a zoom.
Ornn just calls in the Rand.
But it's interesting, because of course that is the flex pick. It can go bot lane. They hovered the Braum, and then switched out to the Ornn, trying to get in Chiefs' heads a little bit. Of course, it was matched by the Sion and the Olaf. Olaf, something we've seen rise to prominence, but Skarner still a very top-tier pick, so Order obviously prioritizing that one over that. And there you go. Will be the Braum locked in.
And right now, I'm having a look at it, and I'm thinking the damage dealers of the Chiefs, especially Zaya, probably unparalleled in the late game. However, the front line of Order is much beefier. You've got a Rakan and an Olaf. They're more bruiser-type frontliners. Sion obviously going to be very tanky, but you're going up a genuine tank in Tally, as well as Spooks and Rogue being in genuine tank positions as well. So it's kind of the beefy front line versus the very high damage back line. And I think whoever gets further ahead in this game will be ahead of that DPS curve very substantially.
100% there, agree. Chiefs have themselves a lot of engaged tools. Rakan, Olaf, you have the Sion as well. I feel like they're going to want to take it to Order early game. You have double tier user in the Ezreal and the Ryze, things like that. Order kind of, I think, have the edge in the scaling game. You talked about Xayah late game, but Ezreal Ryze, I think overall, especially with the fact that Babip on this Olaf will just fall off in the front line. So once you get, if we see a 58-minute game like we saw yesterday, Direwolves versus Avant, if this game gets to that stage, you have to give the edge to the Ryze composition.
Absolutely. Can just play all 3 lanes a little bit better. Has that global. However, Swiper and his team going to look to close this one out first. I do need to point out, as soon as either of these teams lose one game, their goals are shattered. Chiefs need a 2-0 to go back above the Direwolves and reclaim minor Premier champs in the regular season. Order needs 2 wins to go over the Chiefs and finish second, avoid that third place finish. So everything on the line right now. I've been told that there's going to be a slight delay getting into the game, so we're just going to stay with the hype music as well as getting a look at the players.
We get some time as we're looking at the plays. It's got to be super fun, I feel like. Oh, potentially not. We've skipped through the pause. Got to just get straight into the action here, but I was going to mention the first ganks are going to be big, especially Spooks versus Swiper, those two notorious. You talked about FBI and Ryoma, their friendship.
Yep.
Of course, it's on the flip side of the coin as well.
We actually have Tally going Grasp of the Undying into that top lane, so not going for the old school spell book, wanting to be able to take Ignite early. It makes sense into Sion. He's pretty much unkillable. A little bit of a fridge up there in the top lane, as well as Ornn, who of course blows out the Blue Frost.
Yes, will be the fridge matchup, Sion versus Ornn. But to get his thoughts on it, we're going to throw to Laura, who's beside Chiefs coach Fantix.
Thank you very much, guys. I am here with Fantix. Now, this is a big day for the team. How have Swiper, Raze, and Ryoma been feeling, though, going up against their old teammates in this match?
I definitely feel more like spirit in them. They're more like into it, like in the week's preparation, because of course everyone wants to be their old teammates.
When we spoke to Destiny recently on the couch in an interview, he said that he thinks him and Raze are the most aggressive bot lane in the league. So how do you think they'll go up against FBI and Rogue today?
Well, like both bot lanes are really aggressive. Definitely the 2 most aggressive bot lanes in the league. And yeah, I'm just going to expect it to be really bloodthirsty, but I have confidence that they'll pull up on top.
Well, best of luck with this series, Fantix, and thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
All right, so Fantix not really giving all that much away, so it's an important game. However, little bit of cheese in the bottom lane. It's going to land. He's immediately going to have to flash. Does not get it in time. Now has to flash, but still going to fall down. First blood picked up for Destiny. And that play is something that we've seen Order do in the bottom lane and walked straight into it this time around.
And that's the thing. When Tally tried it out earlier in the split, it was not successful. Just lost a bit of farm TP top this time. Swiper hits the lineup of Order with that one. They get the kill and both summoners out of FBI. But we're talking about Ezreal Braum into Xayah Rakan. They've already got the advantage down here.
Yeah, certainly do. Help of Swiper. Big Swift's just paying a visit to the bottom lane. We know that that will get him slightly behind in experience, not necessarily gold. However, Swiper has always been the player on the Chiefs, the rock in the top, to put himself behind if it helps out the team. And you see now with that, Destiny going to take an early recall. Ray's going to get a deep ward down.
But also, if you just look at the top matchup, you have double tanks on both sides. You have tank junglers that don't do a whole lot of damage. I guess Olaf does a bit more than Skarner, but then you have Sion versus Ornn. So Swiper willing to sacrifice himself a little bit. But this is not the sort of matchup where that kind of tiny deficit should snowball, whereas bot lane it is.
Yeah, certainly could be, as we see, you know, more experience gain, more creep score at the same time as well. The lane in a very good position. Babip clearing very quickly, even though he did not have a leash. Spooks can match tempo because he got the super leash of the Ezreal and the Braum.
That's the thing. Babip actually going to solo himself out an early Ocean Drake. We talked about yesterday, Ocean, one of the best for this early in the game. Going to help out a few of their already winning lanes on the side of Chiefs right now. Ryoma seems to have a little bit of an edge in the Ryze, but you kind of expect that. Syndra in the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that Destiny will go in again. However, how the heck did that Q not hit?
Yeah.
That went through it. I was going to say was going to get stunned on the back end of that. However, it does not. Babip goes very low, but of course that only helps All laps clear speed.
Does it quicker. So, before his first recall, he actually got himself a solid out objective there, Spooks. Just kind of matching with the farm on the top side. Just doing his golems here, and yeah, super. This is a spicy start. We saw yesterday the early games are gone pretty slow. Already level 1 have the advantage for Raze and Destiny, but I feel like this is kind of come back at level 6, right? Because pre-level 6, of course, in a not 2v3 situation, in a straight 2v2, Ezreal Braum will fare fairly fine. As we saw, kind of getting a nice little trade back onto Destiny. Didn't have to burn any pots, but did go to about half HP. The important thing for the Rakan in this matchup is to be able to land the Qs. It means they get that extra sustain. The Braum doesn't have access to that one, so he's sitting pretty healthy right now.
However, we are talking about the 2-item 80 carry versus a 3. So even though about 300 gold behind right now, actually, Rogue goes in. They're going to be able to stun him up. Raze no flash. They will get the ignite down here will be used. However, he is burning. One more auto will do it. They cannot reach it. Nice body block from Destiny. Lots of summoners used, but Raze will live.
And that's the thing, FBI, he couldn't flash up with the auto attack. He couldn't commit onto Raze because it was burnt in the earlier gank. So they get both summons from Chiefs 80
However,
carry.
Spooks is still going here. Can they jump forward onto him? Can they zone them away from the experience? That is what this game is now. They are trying to kill as many creeps to the turret as possible, because if FBI gets level 6 first, a lot of that aggression can be nullified.
Of course, Barbip still on the top side of the jungle right now. The entire time that gank went on, he was just farming. So already ahead of Spooks, a level lead, and continuing to look to steal away some of his camps here. Gonna go steal away the Raze. Raze, actually, because these Qs are landing from Destiny, he burnt the pot and he has the shield, so he already has that regen, but already sitting at about 75% because Destiny constantly proccing those heals.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that they both went Door and Shield, which is, I just love to see it, honestly, in aggressive bottom lane matchups. You think it's a little bit of an oxymoron, like, how is a shield more aggressive than a sword? Well, it just gives you that ability to stay in lane, trade a little bit more, ride it to the boundaries, and that is exactly what both of these top teams' bottom lanes want to do.
And honestly, that was very close what we saw just there, but Bip walking through the mid lane, trying to push Swiffer out a little bit, but Roma did just proc 6 at that time. If they could have got onto him, potentially it was kill potential, but no, they all just kind of walk away.
And that's one of the times where I think Ryoma's greediness actually hurts him a little bit. If he had just altered Swiffer and then stunned off the back end of the ult, it is not the maximum damage combo. However, it is the easiest way to proc the stun. We're about to see it right now, so Swiffer won't get stunned up, will just jog his way to safety. However, Ryoma with firm control over this lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And Swiffer's already burnt the TP to get his classic early rise base TP back to lane for that tier. Got himself a Ruby and a Sapphire as well to his name, but getting chunked out now means he's going to have to base, walk all the way back, potentially lose a wave.
However, Egypt, a first blood is worth 600 gold plus the assists.
Okay.
Right now, we are seeing that as Order are grabbing the creep waves, as they're bouncing into them, they're only about 300 gold down. That's with the CS lead on Babip as well as the level, and the fact that mid lane seems to be going in their favor. Potentially Kleptomancy on Ezreal can be something towards that.
A little bit. We are talking about very small leads here.
It should be bigger, I feel like. If you get the first blood and you deny the level to Ezreal, you think this is a lane that should snowball heavily. But right now, the Ezreal is actually the one that is up.
And that's the thing. I feel like this matchup definitely spikes at 6, and that's where we see the kind of that first blood come to fruition. If you get like an extra longsword, you have the BF when Ezreal's sitting on the tier and things like that. When Rakan and Xayah hit level 6, they will be able to force the play, and because Ryoma has had control of the mid lane for the majority of this game, you have to think Chiefs, they have a very easy play to execute. Swiper topside, at this point in the game, he hasn't been touched by Spooks, really. He went bot, got that advantage for his bottom lane, and it's just been sitting up there completely isolated in the tank v tank. This is kind of not traditionally how Chief games go. It's more even on the top side than they normally face.
Absolutely. However, it seems that that's the kind of game plan that Order want to run into them there. Giving Swiper the respect of being a good team fighter. Mid lane turret is incredibly low already after Swiffer goes and grabs himself that blue buff. Nice stun from Ryoma will deny a creep there.
That is a lot of damage. That is so much damage onto a mid turret already. I was talking about Ryoma, but Bip maybe rotating towards the bottom lane, making a play down there onto Order's bot, but because this turret is already incredibly low, Rakan is one of the best supports at diving mid lane. If they somehow get priority bot over the Ezreal, over the Braum, they can walk mid. Swiffer, his TP is coming up soon, has the flash, but Ryze very immobile. They have so much CC. Rakan, Syndra can lock him down. Xayah and the Olaf can do enough damage to burst him in that CC chain.
And he probably wants to go back and get himself the cleanse, to be honest.
Yep.
Just so he can cleanse flash if that is the play that you're looking at.
He'll need it to live. If
However,
the CC lands,
if his turret's that low, he needs a tempo recall. He can't take a 50-50 because Ryoma will just stick around and take the turret.
He needs Spooks. He needs Spooks to be able to push him in if that's the play they want to go for. He's going to get chunked out again a little bit. Nice trading by Aroma continuously. And he's one of the mid laners that has been able to, in the 1v1, time and time again, week after week, eke out these small advantages. And we are seeing it again. He kind of gets to a point in the mid-late game sometimes where he has that one random blunder. He'll like get really big and you can rely on him to get big game after game, but then he'll kind of have this lapse of judgment mid-game, late game, and he will die randomly. But right now, sitting absolutely pretty. Tally getting some nice trades onto Swipe, but Sion versus Ornn.
They just trade it back.
Yep.
Why not?
Nice little grass proc.
Just bang into each other a little bit.
Yep.
Not all that much happening. However, Chiefs have great topside control because even though Ornn is getting the push, you would maybe expect Tally to take a visit to the mid lane. Maybe try and get an ulti onto Ryoma. That pink ward in the Pixel Brush is just denying any form of aggression that he can go for right now.
His bot lane from Order does
here
actually
we go.
Ooh, Predator's popped.
Actually, they go in on Ryoma. They drag him back to the turret. This is going to be TP flying down. First blood will be picked up, and Ornn is just going to be too late. Very nicely played. It's actually second blood again. I've done it one more time.
But they did get the flash.
Level 1s don't count.
They did get the flash, of course, and that's what you were saying. Swiffer needed to get that base so he had the cleanse to live, but he couldn't. So no, he burns the flash and he doesn't have the extra cleanse to get himself out. So the damage from Ryoma, despite burning both sums, mean he goes down, and Chiefs going to get themselves the second dragon of the game. We're only 10 minutes in. That's so early. They've already got 2, Mountain and the Ocean.
I'm actually so surprised they did not stick around for that mid lane.
Yeah.
The fact that they left it up, obviously believing in the 2v2 ability right now. You see Spooks trying to take himself a Rift Herald on the opposite side of the map with no ult, cannot really punish Swiper around here. However, everyone else is off the map right now, so they should be able to grab it.
Swiper's done this before, though. He's hit him with the 2v1, but of course, Barbib has based. Ryoma based as well, so of course, Order. Here, the Chiefs take the Dragon on the bot side, and they kind of assume they're down there. Spooks takes the opportunity to take this one down, so they get themselves a delayed objective to try and answer a little bit. But yeah, I feel like the confidence play out of Chiefs. They took the Dragon because they know they get that one 100%, as you mentioned.
There's going to be a face check. Rogue can't get the door up in time. Now we'll get it up the wrong way, and it's just going to kind of die.
Yeah, he is. There's a TP, actually.
Yeah, TP behind them, actually. That's what you were pointing out. So that means FBI has to burn the flash as well. Will be charmed up. Will fall down, most likely. Burns the heal as well.
Ooh.
And a double kill going over to the Chiefs.
And it just looks like Chiefs may be running away with the game. I said they had the setup. They have the early proactivity. That TP from Swiper gets in. You were mentioning, like, what was Rogue doing? Running to the other side. He was just trying to suicide himself to potentially keep FBI alive. Force Chiefs to chase into their own jungle. But both of the bot lane from Order die. That is going to be another large chunk onto these turrets. They're not going to get it just yet. Probably looking for a recall potentially next wave. Maybe they stick around for it.
I mean, they might just get it on this
They
creep,
might.
but will fall down. Destiny can look to tank up. No, cannot do it.
Barbib's here, though.
Barbib is here. Maybe they look to bait it in for one more. That ultimate doesn't hit Destiny, so
Spooks
they
is
still
behind.
will stick around. Spooks, however, is now trapped between everyone on the Chiefs. Will get a stun onto Barbib. Where is that ultimate? There it is right there. Will pop it.
Ryoma.
Turns around. Ryoma is here. However, successful disengage. Potentially they can drop Rift Herald for a tempo play here.
And that's the thing. Tally doesn't have his TP, and he has walked all the way down to the bot side. Swiper goes back top. No TP as well, so he can't influence the play, but this will be a 4v5 down on the bot side. Rift Herald is channeled by Spooks. And the bot lane of Chiefs did base, so they're potentially just going to drop turret, but it's not first brick. So they're going to be able to answer that one, but not necessarily an advantage.
Absolutely. It's definitely not an advantage. Chiefs have got all this early game going their way. In fact, Swiper's going to get a lot of damage on this top lane turret as well. They deny a lot of creeps away from Tally as that is crashing at the moment. You can see it's about 2 creep waves on your mini-map. And that's a lot of turret damage up top. So Order continually falling behind in this early game. However, I do need to stress, the late game scaling out of Order is higher. So
It is.
they need to now buckle down and hope that the Chiefs don't get a Fire or a Mountain Drake, because that will just open up the Baron play. You know, give them some Oceans, give them some Airs. Let the room
Everything
breathe a
but.
little bit. However, right now, the Chiefs, they need to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
And this is what the Chiefs have been so good at. If they have a gold lead,
Rogue.
Rogues, he really just wanted to be like Ejim this game.
Face checks into the bush. We'll
Gets
give it
picked
over
up.
to Ryoma as well, so...
And this is everyone now mid lane. This is already the weakened mid lane turret. Destiny has the flash, has the quickness available.
And that's the thing. These turrets are weak, and Chiefs already have the advantage. 5 kills to 0 right now. Just under a 3,000 gold lead, and it's a 4v5 on the map. Rogue goes down. Chiefs looking for this mid lane outer.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have a wave.
And we can see True Shot Barrage comes across.
Can they hit?
Spooks takes a little bit of damage. They can't get in range to hit because Raze is in river.
He's actually topside wanting to push that one out. So they don't have an 80 carry. They don't have a designated marksman to take down the turret. They're just going to transition this topside, potentially looking for something around Spooks on the red buff. But it was warded out. Spooks takes that one down. And we'll just be trying to match. And this is what Order are doing right now. They want to be able to match the lanes. They want to put Tally versus Swiper in the bot lane. That's going to be negated. But the hard part is around this Zyra Khan. Ryoma has a little bit of a lead, but Bip will be able to walk through mid towards topside if they want a play. But Swiper.
Oh, Rogue again gets a face shake, burns the flash this time around. However, unless you have priority in the lane, Rogue needs to stop face checking brushes. Until you see all the members, you just got to push out your waves, make them respond, then you can get your vision. He is skipping steps, and it is costing him massively.
100%. Destiny almost completed his first item, and Rogue sitting on boots and a cloth armor right now. So he's considerably far behind the 8-ball comparatively to his role. That's weird to talk about with supports, but because Destiny's opted in for the magical footwear, he hasn't had to spend the money on the free boots, whereas Rogue is fully upgraded to Merc, so he's delaying his first item purchase, but especially Ray's completed his first item. The Zyra Khan duo spike pretty hard on that Zeeks.
They're pinging out exactly where Spooks is, however, because mid-reset as well as the jungle position, they can't really do anything here. Spooks just protecting the vision he's laid down. And this actually will be a big chunk on top lane turret as well. Ezreal no slouch when it comes to taking down these structures, so nicely played.
Yeah, bonus attack speed he can give to his support as well. But Order do take their window of opportunity when Chiefs get the recalls, but they did pick up a few items. Sork boots for Ryoma is a big one. But Bip working on his Righteous Glory, so he's going for the double move speed build. Not to mention he's already got himself Blue Smite. Both junglers actually opting in for the slow. That's going to be a very, very quick Olaf, and that's, ooh, no, not going to land.
Tags up on Destiny, and this is how the lane is supposed to go. In the ideal world, Destiny gets stunned because the Q registers and they get another auto attack. However, you can see that they navigate the 2v2 incredibly well as a duo. The problem is that Rogue just has never had summoner spells. As they call in the horn onto Ryoma, burns a flash already. Will the CCB there? Yes, it is. They pull him back. However, Spooks goes so low. Over the wall goes Babib. Uses that ultimate, however, it's about to time out, and they could look to continue. No, they just take the 1-for-nothing trade. Great roam from Tally.
And another nice window used by Order. They see Swiper's recall, and Tally takes that opportunity to go mid. So it's a 3v2. Babib burned his flash and his ulti to try and get a trade onto Spooks, because the damage from Syndra, even from death, she took Spooks incredibly low. He had to burn the flash to secure it, but it will be the Ocean Dragon.
That was when Syndra was really OP, and you used to be like, keep her alive so I can exhaust her, because if you kill her straight away, she's going to ult me and I'm going to die. However, Order do grab themselves an Ocean Dragon, so they will equalize one of those. Mountain next again.
That's big, actually. That's definitely big, especially if Chiefs can pick themselves up that one. We talked about they need to not let their foot go on the pedal. They need to keep the pressure up in this matchup. The scaling can be there from Order. And if this game does stagnate for long enough, if they can't secure themselves a Baron and a mid-game advantage where they can turn that into late-game leads, Order will be able to try and stall, and they've done a good job so far of stalling that. Topside play, nice chunk, get a pick onto the mid laner, kind of stalling out things from Chiefs. This is, they just whack at each other. They don't care. They don't take damage.
But in one end of it, Sion doesn't seem to be losing mana as quickly as the Ornn, which could be a big deal, because if you're able to deny mana, it means those roams will not be as impactful, because you're going to be there with like maybe one rotation of spells as opposed to, you know, the 4 or 5 that you would like to be able to throw. Right now, Ryoma looking for Swiffer, goes fishing, will not be able to, actually lands a stun very nicely.
He does land the stun, but the big thing is Chiefs have called over the help of all of their lanes. Actually, Swiper's going to walk over some vision, but the bot lane of Chiefs now showing in mid. This turret is incredibly low.
It has been red, however, so how much do they want to make Order work for it? See that they're just going to clear it out. Nicely played by the Chiefs. That's actually the perfect commit, because Raze was there this time.
100%. He's there. They get to take down the turret. Spooks had to use his flash before, so no real threat, honestly, onto the 80 carry of the Chiefs. So they get that mid lane out of turret. 2 of the 3 outer ring burnt right now. We're just going to go back top lane. Nice ebb and flow of the game right there. They take their opportunity. Order took theirs before. Gold lead still sitting at about 3,000 in favor of the Chiefs.
Absolutely. So when we take a look at where that is, the global gold will mean that Swiper in the top lane has about a 500 gold advantage. Nothing to write home about. Actually, they go in onto FBI. Hold that thought. He gets blown up. Will have to dive away. You can see that right now they're still looking for him. They pick up the kill onto Babib. In goes the Featherstorm forward. Rogue puts on the dancing shoes. Roots land, and they still want him. However, meanwhile in the mid lane, Ryoma has fallen down somehow. It looks like an Ornn ult used one more time, but can they actually get anything for it? Because the Chiefs are going to take top lane turret. They already took 2 kills. and Order are being forced out by Swiper.
And that's the thing, 1v3 mid, the wave is on Order's side of the map, so they don't get anything, whereas Chiefs already pushing in the top side. The big thing for that engaged top, we're actually going to take a look at what happens mid. Swiffer flashing forward, gets taken to about half HP.
How did Brian die here? Oh,
yeah, the slow.
Okay.
The slow from the Ornn ult, he didn't even land the knock-up there, didn't need it. The slow means that Spooks gets in range, of course, had no flash. So Ryoma does fall down. But, as you were saying, Chiefs equalizing on the top side. They get that turret as well. That's the outer ring completely blown over. And the big thing is Rogue needs to be able to bring up the door before the feathers come in through Raze. And what happened there was Destiny hits him with the charm before that door goes up. So he doesn't block any damage on the initial burst into FBI. So it doesn't even matter that FBI doesn't instantly die. Because once he's at 10% HP, he's just not going to be doing any damage in the fight.
Absolutely. You could see that this is one of those situations where the 2v2, maybe that's a disengage if the jungler isn't there. But all Babip has to be able to do is put 2 axes in.
Yep.
2 axes worth of damage was all it was to tip that 2v2 over the edge and make it so there was no disengage. They get the turret, they get the global gold. They're now sitting 4,000 up.
And with this build as well, he's got Glory, he's got Predator, and Chilling Smite. So it doesn't matter that Ezreal has a dash and he might have a flash as well. He can close that gap if he wants it. So it's all just about the upfront damage. Chiefs right now sitting up around the Baron. We just hit 20 minutes, so that one's spawning immediately.
They haven't got the best Baron, but
Yeah.
they've got a very good Baron turn. With the quickness plus flash available on Destiny, with that Righteous Glory that you mentioned on Olaf and teleport available on Swiper, they can turn incredibly well and look to peel off and kill members of Order before they actually complete the Baron.
And that's what they're trying to do right now, trying to get the jungle control. And Order are contesting very tentatively. They have the Skarner Spire on their side of the court right now, so Spooks gets those extra little stats. They're very tentatively. You see how safely Rogue is trying to check that bush. He actually pinked it. Then as soon as they show, he walks away, because he did face check time and time again. The bot lane of Order sitting 0-3 and 0, and they don't want that to extend.
And all they're relying on is the fact that Swiffer will get priority over Sion. That's all it is right now. As you can see, actually Tally in the top lane being pinged out. Destiny wanted him, but will not be able to get him.
Just enough distance. But as you mentioned, Sion into Ryze doesn't seem like a very fair matchup. Swiffer about 50 CS ahead of the tank top lane. Got himself 2 items as well, working on his third.
Yeah, both have teleport available. Both can stop the teleport. You would think as soon as Tally gets himself that Banner of Command, he's going to drop it into Swiffer's lane as well, make it even more of a nightmare for the Sion to stick around. And this is where Syndra did fall down towards the end of her reign in the mid lane. Teams just continually 1-3-1 into her. And she wasn't able to as successfully go into the side lanes as champions like Talia and like Ryze.
She needs help. She needs to bring like a support floating down, jungler floating down, so she's safe. She has no mobility. Sure, she might be able to if she's fed 1v2 or potentially kill someone in the side lane, but her push isn't even that quick. And then without mobility, doesn't function very well, but that's
Baron,
a start.
however, and Spooks right now is
Blue
being
Trinket.
very tentative in checking. Blue Trinket is there, as you mentioned. But you can see Babip takes so much damage. This is not a tanky member. This is not a member that has his own shields. He relies on the Rakan, who probably honestly wants to give it to the Xayah. And you can just see that they have to continually peel off.
Swiffer looking for a bit of a trade onto Swiper here. Does get a nice chunk of damage there. Going to take him to about half.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage, to be honest, and he's continuing the hurt down here.
The saving grace for Chiefs is that Ryze, not the best turret pusher, so he can push Swiper out of lane, but he won't take the objectives too far. Swiper getting himself some vision. But as you mentioned, the early Ocean Drake kind of will come in clutch for Chiefs, I think. If they keep setting up this play around the Baron, they can start it. They can get the melons like we saw Babip get. He just walks up, takes down the fruit, heals up a little bit. Ocean Drake ticking time and time again as well. So they have some advantages here, but Order look like they're making a play.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like potentially
Spooks has
Spooks wants to flash out of a brush. However, right now, they just want Swiffer. So you can see immediately running into that bottom lane, but Order start up the Baron. So Babip does the do-si-do. He's back towards mid now. Swiffer chasing Sion around a little bit. This could be a kill, and Order can just peel away. They have inside track towards top lane. And right now, the 1-3-1 for Order is stronger, so they are winning the game.
They play the bait and switch. You knew Chiefs walking down bot side wanted to pick on the Ryze. They wanted to take that extra Earth Drake. But because they just start up the Baron, they didn't want to actually do the Baron. They just forced Chiefs to walk over. Very nicely played. Swiper holds on to his flash, and that's pretty big. Means he will be able to live a at least one force by Swiffer in the side lane. But you saw how easily, it wasn't on screen, but just looking at the health bars, how easily Swiffer just deals with this Sion in the side lane.
And it's only going to get worse. He's probably going to go back towards a Void Staff as his next item, given the fact that he's behind. And Void Staff is one of those items that right now it's not the best, but you want to stay ahead of the magic resist curve that's going to come out of team, so he probably needs it. And this is what we're talking about. Ryoma goes and grabs one wave. However, he has to go back mid after that. Swiffer is just sitting bottom lane and eating every creep. No creep is dying right now. They will get a second Mountain Drake, and this is huge for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Talk about win conditions, the ability to do a quick Baron against a team that has a 1-3-1 really dug in is certainly a good tool to have in your belt.
And that's what kind of happened in 2018 and the latter part of 2017. Split push overall has fallen off a little bit because teams just figured out, sure, if you put someone in the side lane, we can just force Baron, force them to TP, things like that. Double Mountain Drake just makes that even easier, but we talked about the advantage. Swiffer's now got, from a deficit in lane, he's about 40 CS up. 30 CS, sorry, 25, I just completely botched my math, but no.
All right.
He's getting a lead now over the Syndra, and especially over Swiper as well on the sideline. So as this goes on, it just gets better and better, and it relies on Chiefs to be able to force that play.
And more importantly, he's annoying Swiper. I have felt this frustration of, as a top laner, you feel at this stage of the game, you have done the hard work, you have the right to access creep waves. And now there's an annoying mage, I don't even know what Ryze is, I think he's human, but with runes etched all over his
He's got at least one human skin.
You just feel so frustrated that this dude's down here pegging spell fluxes and stuff at you. And you're just like, go away, let me farm in peace. Look, he's even doing his Krug. Swiffer knows how to get in the mind of Swiper.
He knows how to get in his head. They were teammates for so long here.
Spooks potentially looking for a face check. Restrains himself. And he somehow got an experienced lead over Babin. He was down a level and a half at the start of this game.
Well, that's the thing. Because Order are playing the split push, they are farming the camp, so they just expend enough members around the Baron. Because Chiefs, this is what they're doing. Chiefs are stacking up. They're not catching every single wave. They're losing some experience. They need a bit. Because Destiny's not on a tank, he can't face check. He gets ulted by the Skarner, he dies instantly. And they have the damage there,
However,
especially with the
FBI right now, no Arcane Shift. Use it to get over the wall. Would be back up on cooldown now because you max it second. However, when you do that on a Ezreal, a little bit of me is just like, ooh, like, if they engage on you immediately, bad news.
Swiffer found himself a Scion in a red buff pit. We'll just back away, though.
If Scion got it, that's huge news. I
Yeah,
talk about it
the
all the time,
regen.
not for the slow, but for the regen. And you can see right now, Ryoma looking for a pick onto
Tally
Tally.
might be
Will get
caught.
the stun, may have to burn the flash here. Gets charmed up, is very
Oh, he
tanky, will
lives.
flash over the wall, and over goes Destiny as well. They want to continue the fight. Raze now have it caught out. Horn will be called. Raze is going to be suppressed and ulted, but everyone is in the base. They have to bail out of this play. No, Swiffer teleports in,
Stun.
and that could be actually the game-changing play. Swiffer will fall down, and it is just the duo lane of Order left up and standing.
And it looked like Order were holding on. They were denying the Baron. Chiefs couldn't pull it, but they find the pick. Ryoma, the confidence, flashes over the wall on the Syndra. No mobility to force that onto the tank in the top lane. Swiffer got in the back line, but immediately dies, and that will be the play. That is what Chiefs needed.
And they
to break
trickled
open
in
the
one
game.
at a time. You can see right now they're trying to punish Swiper in the mid lane. They even burnt the Ignite, but it's just not going to work. The Chiefs, they get themselves a 6,000 gold lead. They get themselves the Baron, and they really are now going to look to put their foot on the throat and accelerate the pace of this game.
And now the force that they needed to have just gets so much better. We see the engage. Tally steps just too far forward. There's always that threat of the Baron. They all hard commit to this play. Raze on the flank almost gets ulted up by Spooks, but puts enough distance in him. And they do pick up the kill. Swiffer actually TPing into the backline here. Finds himself between 5 members of the Chiefs. He goes down instantly. Nice, very nice predictive stun out of Ryoma. Locks him down. But as soon as they got that first pick, this composition just steamrolls over the fight.
Absolutely, but you can see the health bars are there. It took a long time to blow off Tally. If they don't get the pick, the tanks are starting to get fed, but Order have just made sloppy play after sloppy play, not being together as a 5-man unit. Rogue has been picked twice, now Tally once, and with this Baron buff, they can look to break the base.
They are setting up multiple members in the mid lane right now. Tally pushing out bot, but Chiefs just with the force. They don't care about the side lanes right now. They have the Baron. They don't have a Banner of Command active right now. Potentially they put in a side lane, maybe bot. Maybe that's why Tally had
They're
to
just
recall.
going to tank this turret, and without the whole Order lineup here,
What's the
they
base?
don't have to respect. You can see 2 turrets in the mid lane go down. Now Order will regroup. However, Raze free hitting right now.
And it's so hard for Order to force anything. The Baron buff is on Chiefs. They have literally one flash, and it's on the Ezreal. Their engage tools really only the Call of the Forge God out of Tally is even relevant right here. Spook's finding it so difficult to close the gap onto the carries.
And they just let the inhibitor fall down. It is only a mid lane inhib at this stage of the game, not the biggest deal. However, you can just see that with Baron buff, Chiefs are definitely the most decisive team in the league. As soon as they get one buff, they look to rip open in the game. Funneling into a choke here. Call of the
here we
Forge God
go.
is called, and it will knock up both members. No, very good ultimate used by Raze, and they will
Check it out.
successfully disengage with the blue buff.
Last plant over the wall. Destiny finds his way away from Rise. Swift has actually got himself the human Rise skin. There you go. He is a human. 100%. Swiper potentially looking for more. Chiefs don't want to take their foot at the throat, as you mentioned. Not even going for a reset here, just going straight from mid to the bot lane. Ocean Drake ticking,
Well,
and they
why
have the
not?
extra mountain, so
As
they can just keep
soon as
pushing.
Ornn used that ultimate, I felt like they said, hey guys, there is now zero threat. We can stick around. You can see Raze posturing aggressively forward, does not have the ultimate.
Oh,
Huge
big
stun
stun.
comes across, however, and that will just be
Oh.
Ornn blown up. Make it Rogue as well. Now they're onto Spooks, and they will just run over the top of Order. Triple kill is picked up for Raze. He wants the Quadra. No, will be stolen away by Ryoma, but FBI is the only member left standing with Baron buff, with Baron up creeps in the base. That should be all she wrote. Order in, Chiefs in 30 minutes. Order FBI will be picked up as well. You can see Quidigay is just laughing his head off it. The Chiefs, in 30 minutes of total gameplay, will take one Baron and will take game number 1.
And that's what you expect. Chiefs are the team. If you give them that lead, if you give them the Baron buff, they do end the game. They blow open the gold lead, goes from like 2 to 5 instantly, break open the base and end the game. So quick. Just so quick. The engage, Ryoma, not even Destiny that time, not even Swiper, things like that. That was a triple man stun out of a Syndra at 30 minutes into the game.
Without ulti.
And they just wiped the floor.
Absolutely. Very well played out of the Syndra. You can see kind of a wry smile coming out of the Order members right now because they're just like, what the heck was that?
What
The
else can you
Chiefs,
do?
As soon as they get rolling in those situations, just are so decisive. Early game mistakes really bit Order hard that game, and the Chiefs, you just got to commend them because when they get in a position like that, they punish every scenario.
And that's the thing. Order have not won a single series where they've lost the game, and then game 1. They're the team that comes in. They stomp game 1, and then 2 and 3 they struggle. Now the tides have been turned. Chiefs taking complete control from the start of the game. That literally the level 1, they had the advantage. Swiper sits in the bush. You have to remember, Desire Khan, they're a strong duo in their own right, but then they get that kill, that early game advantage just then from minute 1. And just completely control the game.
Yeah, I mean, level 1 kill, level 4 dragon, play on the mid lane, all that turret damage. Really, they just made proactive play after proactive play. Order did a good job of putting the brakes on with the 1-3-1 comp, but it was just a matter of the time. Second Mountain Dragon coming up. Chiefs knew that they didn't have to force, and as soon as they got the one pick they were looking for, Baron end immediately.
And that's the thing, yeah. The double Mountain kind of did them a service there, meant the Baron play was a little bit easier, and Order kind of had to be more proactive in contesting, but you saw it is... Especially on this patch where junglers don't really have wards, it's kind of on the other people to face check. You saw Rogue early game, almost unforgivable, I think. But then Tally, at a certain point, he was like, look, we don't know if they're doing the Baron. They've had control of the map completely around that objective just for so long that somebody has to face check. And if Chiefs are ready to pull the trigger, which they were, we should commend them for that. They immediately pull the trigger. They all flash over the wall. And they all commit to the play, and that just blows open the game.
We talk about that on Baron Bates all the time. Just blow your summoner spells,
Just go.
make the fight happen, and that is exactly what Chiefs do, and they use it to win game number 1. However, to break that game down further, let's throw it over to Laura and Tegan.
Thank you very much, guys. And with that win from the Chiefs, it now means that Order are locked into 3rd place, heading into the gauntlet, which still means that 1st and 2nd place is still between Chiefs and Direwolves, but... in that game, we saw the classic Chiefs that we've been seeing over the past few weeks that are able to get these early game leads and run away with the game. And Tegan, you were saying right off the bat that you were impressed with that level 1 gank coming out.
Well, yeah, I'm a fan of cheesy level 1s. I always have been. I always will be. And Swiper committing to that in the lane brush, that shows they came in with just a complete goal in mind. It's very rare that you'll see a top laner willing to essentially sacrifice his lane. Blowing your teleport that early is a really, really big investment. So if they hadn't got that kill, if they had just burned double summoners on the Ezreal, I'm not sure they would have been happy, but as it happens, they did. They got pretty much the full amount that could be expected. And for me, that was really important, not just because it sets the snowball in motion, but it also lets them control the tempo of the game. And that is a really important thing that's often overlooked in professional games.
Well, even though they did get that advantage, Tegan, you were saying that they weren't really doing much with that advantage until around the 26-minute mark where they did get a pick. It was in the top red side jungle. I believe we have a replay of it. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, so they spent roughly 8 to 10 minutes just sharking around the Baron/mid area, not really doing much, in order sort of slowly recouping their losses until they caught Tally there on the left of the red bush. And I don't know why Swiffer finishes that TP there. That was, in my opinion, the most glaring mistake out of it after Tally getting caught. Once Tally's caught and he goes down as low as he has and Chiefs start committing, you need to be able to cut your losses. Just say, all right, we're going to lose the Baron here because once Tally is dead and once Chiefs sort of follow through, they've asserted that control. I believe they also had 2 Mountain Drakes at that point, so that Baron's going to go down very quickly. You need to cut your losses, try and push out side lanes, maybe even mid lane, and just sort of stem the incoming push that's going to happen with Banned Cannon Minion, and just Baron in general helping them push through. So while I was kind of critical of them sort of just taking forever to do what needed to be done, eventually they did find the pick they were looking for.
When we were upstairs watching, you were saying that you absolutely hate Banner of Command right now because it's meta. Explain to us why you hate it.
So I'm a little bit of a hipster with Banner of Command. I used to get it when no one else did because in solo queue no one dealt with it. You just put it in the side lane and people would forget about it. And now that it's so influential, especially with Baron, people know how to deal with it now. They know that you have to pay attention to it. And we saw that when they were bannering side lane minions before that giant fight in mid lane, having to send people over to deal with it, having to divert attention, stopping you from building this 5v5 death ball, which was, again, helping Order draw the game back, forcing them into this 1-3-1, which Order were doing really, really well in, while Chiefs just didn't find avenues to engage on.
And something I also want to touch on is that in the pre-game we were talking about the bottom lane matchup between Raze and Destiny and FBI and Rogue. And FBI and Rogue did not have a good time this game. Raze ended up popping off, but if you had to give FBI and Rogue some advice going into game number 2 to lift their spirits, what would you say to them?
Far be it from me to give them advice. They're much better players than I am. But it's a tough one because they picked Ezreal, who's traditionally a really safe laner, and he was just getting punished. I would look back on giving away Xayah Rakan. It's a very difficult lane to play against. It's very difficult to play aggressively against. And that's what they like to tout themselves as an aggressive duo. So potentially look at maybe just changing to a more aggressive duo down there for them to play to their strengths. Alternatively, they could play the same thing and just not get Cheese level 1. And I feel like they would pretty much be a neutral lane matchup down there, so you can't read too much into it from that.
That level 1 gank definitely did impact the game, but I want to talk to you about the gauntlet that's coming up as well, because if this series goes 2-1 to either team, it is very likely that these teams will match again somewhere in the gauntlet, and the gauntlet will be best of 5. So I want to ask you, the difference between the difference from going from best of 3s to best of 5s, how does it affect your mindset, and how do you prepare from going to best of 3s to best of 5s?
I feel like Bryce might be able to add to this as well, so hopefully he can add later. But a lot of teams nowadays scrim in either best of 5 blocks or already scrim long blocks of time in terms of how they're practicing. So it's not a super jarring change, but there is it's more on the coaches and their tactics. There's a lot more adaptations that happen in the best of 5 versus the best of 3. Sometimes they'll play one champion which you ban out, and that's that. In best of 5, it's more of a strategical choices, deciding do we play early game, mid game, late game, what comps are we trying out, and how are they reacting. So for the players, there isn't really that much of a change, but for the coaches, there's a lot more pressure on them.
Well, there will be a lot more pressure on everyone, I can assume, going into the gauntlet. But guys, we asked you to send in your questions to us on Facebook and Twitter, and we have 2 that T-Gun is going to answer right now. The first one coming in from Raz, old friend of the OPL and LPL, who says, what's your way of keeping it cool in a game 1 loss, and who did you hate playing against the most while you played the game?
Keeping it cool was, after losses, just go to the toilet, take a break, get a drink, take a minute, maybe 2, to just sort of de-stress before even talking about the game and how you're approaching the next one, because you don't want to go in there full of emotion and worrying about everything. Who do I hate playing the most? No one really. People who disrespected Blitzcrank sucked, so playing against Raider would really suck, because he would unapologetically stand out in the open, and I knew every time I was going to try and hit him with an ability, he'd just move, and it was uncanny. So that would be probably the one I hated most, not just because he was great, but because he just paid no respect and got away with it every time.
It was your kryptonite.
Yeah, pretty much.
Our second question comes in from Nathan on Facebook as well, who says, Brad, who do you think will bring out the next Blitzcrank pick?
Cupcake is the most likely, but it depends on who can convince their coach it's a viable pick. And I don't know who's going to be gullible enough to fall for that in the current meta. Might happen in Gauntlet. Best of 5, you do get to bring out sort of cheesy picks. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to Cupcake. I hope he does it, but it's impossible to sort of predict.
I'm crossing my fingers for Cupcake. Congratulations on your mystery skin, Nathan. Sorry, Razzie won't be getting one. But just before we go to a break, T-Gun, do you think Chiefs are going to be able to 2-0? You said they were going to in your prediction.
I picked it. I'd never change. I'm unapologetic. 2-0 all day.
All right, we'll have to have a word to Jubes, who always changes his predictions. We're going to go to a break, but when we get back, we're going to have game number 2 between the Chiefs and Order. Don't go anywhere.
He's in the bottom lane. It's going to land. He's immediately going to have to flash. Does not get it in time. Now has to flash, but still going to fall down. First blood picked up for Destiny. Actually, they go in on Ryoma. They drag him back to the turret. This is going to be TP flying down. First blood will be picked up, and Ornish just going to be too late. He gets blown up. Will have to dive away. You can see that right now they're still looking for him. They pick up the kill onto Babip. In goes the Featherstorm forward. Rogue puts on the dancing shoes. Roots land, and they still want him. Raze now have it caught out. Horn will be called. Raze is going to be suppressed and ulted, but everyone is in the base. They have to bail out of this play. No, Swiffer teleports in, and that could be actually the game-changing play. Swiffer will fall down. A huge stun comes across, however, and that will just be Orn blown up. Make it Rogue as well. Now they're onto Spooks, and they will just run over the top of Order. Triple kill is picked up for Raze. He wants the Quadra. No, will be stolen away by Ryoma. The Chiefs, in 30 minutes of total gameplay, will take one Baron and will take game number 1.
Don't be fooled by her childish appearance. Zoe is an ancient being, a cosmic messenger of Targon. And when the aspect of Twilight appears, she warps reality itself. Welcome to the Zoe Champion Spotlight.
This should be fun. Fun!
Zoe's passive is more sparkles! After casting a spell, Zoe's next attack deals bonus damage.
More sparkles, now!
Zoe's Q is Paddle Star. Zoe fires a star that damages in a small area, additionally applying extra damage from her passive. She can recast Q mid-flight to redirect the star. Its damage increases based on the distance it has traveled in a straight line. Send stars far away from enemies before recasting Q to deal the most damage possible. Some might even say tons. Zoe's W is T-H-I-E-F. What? It says Spell Thief.
Really?
Enemy summoner spells and active items drop spell shards on the ground when they're used. Collecting a spell shard grants Zoe one cast of that spell or item via Spell Thief. Occasionally, minions can drop a spell shard when Zoe kills them as well. Zoe and her team can see which minions hold shards, but enemies can't. When casting any summoner spell or using anything Spell Thief's picked up, Zoe briefly gains bonus movement speed and tosses missiles at the nearest enemy, prioritizing her most recent target. Each missile grants the bonus damage from her passive. Remember, Spell Thief has no cooldown. It just requires you to have a spell shard. Zoe's E is Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Zoe throws a ball that detonates on the first target hit, dealing damage and making the struck enemy drowsy. After a couple of seconds, drowsy enemies will briefly fall asleep. If a sleeping enemy takes damage, they'll take extra and wake up in the process. Damage over time effects, including things like Morgana's Tormented Soil, will not do bonus damage or wake the target. If the bubble hits nothing, it lingers on the ground as a trap for a few seconds. If cast over a wall, it gains bonus range.
I need a nap.
Zoe's ultimate is Portal Jump. When cast, Zoe teleports, then returns where she started after a short delay. Before returning, she can use abilities and attack normally, but cannot walk. Even if other movement abilities like Flash are used, Zoe will always return to her starting position. Unlike most ultimates, Portal Jump has an exceptionally short cooldown. She'll get to use it multiple times per fight. During your first laning phase with Zoe, you're gonna have to do some work to figure out her basic combos. Practice directing your Q around minions to catch opponents off guard while weaving in auto attacks between casts. Figure out how to land long-range paddle stars for bigger bursts.
Roar!
Putting your enemies down for a nap first makes it so easy to land your stars.
That was awesome! Right?
Once you hit 6, you'll want to start regularly working Portal Jump into your combos. It effectively grants extra range and therefore damage to your abilities. Use R to dodge skill shots, grab spell shards, or simply close the gap to land a guaranteed Sleepy Trouble Bubble. While Zoe's R is great for dodging incoming abilities, it is not any good as an escape tool. After pushing your lane, be your jungler's buddy and look to prance into other lanes or the enemy jungle for picks. Building cooldown reduction early will boost Zoe's pick power through the early and mid game. Durability items will give Zoe more room to maneuver when you get into bigger fights. And of course, through all this, you want ability power. Since Spell Thief can cause almost any active item or summoner spell to drop suddenly, good Zoe players have to be creative to adapt to situations on the fly. If you see a flash in range, you might want to flash to grab it, then flash again to pick off their backline.
You left a copy of your spell here. I took it. Okay, thanks.
Surf on the outskirts of fights, acting like an artillery assassin until you see the opportunity to push forward and collect vital spell shards to facilitate an all-in. Zoe isn't meant to be an entry-level champion. Her abilities can be combined in lots of different ways, and she'll take a lot of games to master. But if you stick with her, you'll become a star.
You're so funny. Acting like magic hurts.
Thanks for watching the Zoe Champion Spotlight. Portal jump below to learn more about the aspect of Twilight.